You're all I need. It's kind of an amazing concept. Pastor Dave, don't I need clothes? Don't I need shelter? Don't I need food? Don't I need water? Well, yeah. But guess what? With God, He's our provider. Everything else flows from that. You got God. You got everything else. You're all I need. The wonderful thing about being in that position where the Lord is all we need is that sometimes He takes us in directions we don't expect. So I have what you need, but I need you to go this way to get it. Okay. All right, we'll do that. And as a result, sometimes we end up in circumstances we could never have foreseen. For example, I'm in a position now where I have every single day an opportunity to talk to people from all over the world. Which, being a pastor, is kind of a nice position to be in. Wow. From the day we founded the ministry back in 2012, it was Joy Faith Ministries International. We really are international now, if you think about it. Because I've got people from Europe and Asia and South America now looking at our website because they know, hey, this guy's a pastor. I'm going to go check him out. And one of the people that I've had an immense honor and privilege of getting to know is somebody from Romania. Now, it's not often that you get to meet somebody from Romania. There's not a lot of Romanians making their way to Texas. However, I had a really wonderful conversation with him. We talked about things that we share in common. He just got married last week. Congratulations if you're watching. And he sent me a message that I wanted to share with you because it really touched my heart. And it kind of was the touchstone for today's message. So let me share it with you. I did a very rough translation of a poem I really like by one of our Romanian poets called Radu Gir, and I'm hoping you will enjoy it as well. Radu Gir was a poet that believed in national unity, one nation under God, and lived to the age of 70, but spent more than 2 decades of his life in prison for his beliefs and not renouncing God under the communist regime. He was tortured and denied medical aid for 2 years in one of the worst detention centers in Eastern Europe in the 70s. But he never gave in. He died in prison, and I'm sharing these with you as a man of faith, as it may speak more to you than to others. I love his poems with a passion, even though I'm not a Christian myself. And I got to stop there. He says, even though I'm not a Christian myself, and yet I see in this man more of what it means to be a Christian than I have seen in many Christians. In the last 2 years in detention, he never saw the light of day. This poem was found scribbled on his cell walls after his death. And I want to give you fair warning, have a tissue handy. This is a 3-hanky poem, if ever there was one. I am, my Lord, ripe for the picking. 'Tis not because my years are a heavy harvest, but my heart's become a canopy of branches under your ever-growing fruit. I am, my Lord, ripe for the picking. I have become but fruits and balm. The more my body gathers rust, the more my soul turns into gardens. It's full of crops, and branch to branch I have become but fruits and balm. And when, with tears, you wash me up, the more my fruit gets ever sweeter. And it knows not the fog that looms, nor fruit worms, but the burden of doubt. Nor the burden of doubt. With tears you wash and clean my fruit. And if you see there starts to fall from me a branch that's bent and broken, know that at the top, above, the garden sings and awaits the great picking. I am, my Lord, ripe for your picking. Imagine logging into your computer to start your day, and that's the first thing you read. I was totally blown away. I spent a good 20 minutes crafting a reply to that one. It's like, man, I hope you don't mind. I have got to share this. It's like, I don't want to keep this blessing to myself. But it made me think about what this poet had gone through. And so many young people, millennials, they do not have any idea about what it was like under communism back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. Decade after decade of oppression. And Romania had one of the most brutal, most oppressive, monstrous dictators in the world at the time. And I thanked my friend for sharing this experience because it really put it in context to me about the things that are important. And lest any of us become concerned about what we may go through in life or health, I want to share with you Matthew 10, 28-31. Don't be afraid of those who want to kill your body. They cannot touch your soul. Fear only God, who could destroy both soul and body in hell. What is the price of 2 sparrows, 1 copper coin? But not a single sparrow can fall to the ground without your Father knowing it. And the very hairs on your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are more valuable to God than a whole flock of sparrows. You are more valuable to God than a whole flock of sparrows. And the enemy cannot touch your soul. He can touch a lot of things. Think about poor Job. The accuser went before the Lord and said, that Job, he only honors you because you've put this hedge of protection around him and made him wealthy. You take that away, he'll curse you. So God said, okay, let's see what happens. Do what you want, but don't touch his body. And the enemy took everything. Took his wealth, took his children. All gone. And what did he do? He did not curse, but he blessed the Lord because the enemy couldn't touch his soul. And so the accuser goes before the Lord again. And the Lord says, hey, what do you think of my servant Job? A righteous dude. The enemy says, it's just because he's healthy. You take away his health, he'll curse you to your face. And so God, all right, go ahead. But you can't kill him. And so the enemy afflicted with painful, disgusting boils from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet, such that he wished he were no longer alive. But did he curse God? No. Why? Because the enemy could not touch his soul. Couldn't do it. But there is a message that I need to deliver today that the Lord has given me, and it's this. Although the enemy can't touch our souls, we still need to be on guard against anything taking the rightful place of God in our lives. And there is so much. The relevant verse that I'm going to be sharing with you today, that we're going to be looking at very closely, is from 1 John chapter 5. And we're going to be looking at verses 18 to 21. Let's start. We know that God's children do not make a practice of sinning, for God's Son holds them securely, and the evil one cannot touch them. Confirming what Matthew wrote. We know that we are children of God, and that the world around us is under the control of the evil one. And we know that the Son of God has come, and he has given us understanding so that we can know the true God. And now we live in fellowship with the true God because we live in fellowship with his Son, Jesus Christ. He is the only true God, and he is eternal life. Dear children, keep away from anything that might take God's place in your hearts. The wonderful thing about John, if you read 1 John, he keeps saying again and again and again, we know, we know, we know. Because there's a lot that we know as believers. And he reiterates these things. And trust me, if you don't really know this in your heart, please let this sink in today. We're going to look at these one by one. The first point is this: no one born again lives in sin. And I'm emphasizing the word in this case. Verse 18, we know that God's children do not make a practice of sinning, for God's Son holds them securely. What are we saying in worship today? I am held. I am held. Do not make a practice of sinning, for God's Son holds them securely, and the evil one cannot touch them. Now, some people have made the mistake of seeing this verse and thinking, okay,